morning everybody and welcome to the latest Virtually Their Day from Oxford Brookes University. My name's Joe, I'll be presenting today, and today the focus is on the Graduate Diploma in Law, and I'm joined by some of our esteemed academics and current and former students. This is your opportunity to ask questions and find out information about the Graduate Diploma in Law. If you're thinking of joining us in the very near future, you can do that just to the right of this screen by entering your questions, and we will ask them live to our panel. We've got a few questions to get us started, but before we go, if you have any admissions questions, this isn't the forum to do that. You need to email law@brookes.ac.uk. But any questions about the course, about the intricacies of the course, or about what it's like to live and learn in Oxford, send them our way and we'll attempt to answer them. We're here for the next 45 minutes, and without further ado, we'll get started by introducing our panel, starting on the far side.
My name's Mark Howell, I'm one of the lecturers.
My name is Annette Gautry and I'm a former GDL student, just finished.
My name is Jess Loveday. I've just finished the first year of a part-time course.
My name is Cynthia Ochoga. I'm a graduating GDL student.
Hello, my name's Andrew Kopkin. I'm also one of the lecturers and I'm currently the course coordinator for the GDL.
Excellent, so get your questions flooding in, and we're going to make a start with Andrew. Can you just tell us please, what is the Graduate Diploma in Law and why would a student undertake it?
The Graduate Diploma in Law is sometimes called the conversion course, and it's there to enable people who have an undergraduate degree in any subject other than law, who have decided that they wish to become lawyers, specifically who decide they wish to become a solicitor or barrister practicing law in this country. It's the completion of the academic stage of their legal education, because they don't have an undergraduate degree in law, so in order to be qualified to take the professional exams, someone has to come, do the GDL and complete the academic stage of their training.
Excellent. Can you tell me what's distinctive about the Oxford Brookes Gdl?
Yes, we teach the GDL in a very collegial and congenial fashion. Everybody knows everybody else. We're not just, students are not just numbers here. The students get to know the faculty, they have academic advisors who can give them special support. We get to know the students individually. There's a great deal of personal contact, both in the lectures, in the seminars, in our extracurricular activities, and generally in the university. And that's one, I think, of the most important features of our programme, that personal touch that we give.
Excellent, let's get one of the students involved. Shall we start with Cynthia? You just finished your 1-year full-time course. Yeah. Can you give us a breakdown of a typical week studying this course?
Breakdown. Right, so a typical week for me would start on Tuesday with lectures 4 times a week. So I have lectures from Tuesday till Friday, lectures, 2-hour lecture each day, and a workshop, a seminar for 1.5 hours, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a lot. So yeah, and then lots and lots of study hours to back that up, because lectures give you the basic framework to, like the ground knowledge of what to do, what you to expect, and then during the workshop, like you build on that because it's group discussions and stuff, and then of course you need to go back and catch up on that by yourself. So the basic week is quite a lot of hours studying, but then again, it's easy to handle because you have great support from staff and tutors that you can always go to fill in those gaps for you.
Excellent. You did a full-time course. Is it much the same or a bit different when you study part-time?
So the part-time course follows the same programme as the full-time course, but you just do only 2 days instead of 4. So this year I've just done Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I've done the same as Cynthia, the 2-hour lecture followed by the workshop.
Excellent. Annette, how flexible is the course in terms of attendance to these lectures and seminars and other things?
The lectures are set. They're the 2 days, so you can prepare for that. You know that the first year the lectures and seminars will be Tuesdays, Wednesdays. The second year it's Thursdays, Fridays. They're quite flexible with the seminars in the afternoon. They split them in 2 groups, an early group and a late group. And I had to, for example, fit it in around school pickup and also a job. So I was always allocated the early group so I could be finished in time for school. So they're quite flexible.
Excellent. You mentioned there that you have a job that you work around this for studying for this. So can you work part-time, full-time, and how flexible is it to have a job and to also study the course at the same time?
I think to combine it with work, it's doable, definitely, because you know ahead which days you're going to be at university. There's basically 2 days a week. So I worked my shifts around those 2 days. But it's full on because outside those 2 days at university, at the lectures and the seminars, there is at least another 2 days, full days of home study to read the course books and, you know, read cases and prepare for the seminars. You can't really turn up without having done the prep for those, and that takes time. It takes time to digest the information as well, because it's, you know, that is a lot. It's although it's full-time only 1 year, but it does feel like cramming 3 years of knowledge into one. So there is a lot of study, but yeah, I think it is easily combined with work. I don't know how one would combine it with a full-time job, though. I wouldn't want to.
Cynthia,
I wouldn't want to do it.
At that, is there any chance maybe of being able to work maybe part-time or full-time, or would you recommend just focusing on the course?
Well, if you are full-time, I would recommend just focusing, because to be honest, I actually tried, I started training at a firm just to get hands-on experience of how it is to work in a firm and how to use like legal knowledge, and I couldn't keep up at a certain point because I had to think of, do I sacrifice my study time and get that experience, or do I actually learn and pass and then still be able to get that experience when I have my good results? So it's not easy as a full-time student to work, even if it's part-time, because every minute is valuable. Every time I'm away from my books, I'm like, oh, I could have studied this much in this time. You know, I could have memorized that many cases. So no, for a full-time student, it's not quite.
I think it's important to stress so people know that on the full-time programme, you've really got to view it as that being your full-time job. And we would generally discourage students, especially on the full-time programme, from working outside the scope of their studies.
Okay. Mark, can you talk to us a bit about the support that's offered to students, either working full-time or part-time on this course, away from the lectures, away from contact hours?
Well, in terms of the support, I mean, within the university, you've got access to all kinds of things like the careers service and the various, you know, there's all the support mechanisms that you get from a university. And in fact, I suspect one of the things that makes us distinctive is that we're a university-based provider of the GDL, as opposed to a freestanding commercial provider. I do think that makes a difference to the feel of the university. Part of what we have for all our students at the university, and that includes the GDL, is an extensive network of academic advisors, and the idea that there is the personal support. On a relatively small course like the GDL, you get to know your lecturers very well anyway, but we also have that formalised through the academic advisor network.
Excellent. We've received a live question, so thank you very much for that. Keep them coming in. It is, I've got a degree in modern languages, but I think I might want to do law. Is the GDL the right thing to do? We have a modern languages undergraduate, Jess.
Yes, I would say that is absolutely great. I have a degree in modern languages as well, and I've found that a lot of the skills were transferable skills, were very useful ones to have done as a first degree, and I would definitely say that would work well.
Can I just add very quickly? I think it's important that people know that the GDL is virtually exclusively there, as I indicated briefly, if people wish to qualify to practice law as solicitors or barristers in this country. So if the person who called in has got modern language under his or her belt, now wants to be a lawyer practicing in this country, yes, the GDL is absolutely for you.
There's another aspect to that as well. I think that obviously a lot of particularly the commercial firms, have a lot of international offices. And so if you go onto the general websites like lawcareers.net, they'll show you, how many firms have international offices, and that means that the solicitors firms, particularly the commercial firms, place a very, very high premium on people who have got languages. And certainly my experience as a trainee at a commercial firm was that having a second language meant that I got a placement abroad in the country where that was the language spoken.
Excellent. We've had another question that's starting to come in thick and fast. This one, I noticed that a lot of chambers offer mini pupillages during term time. What is Oxford Brookes' point of view on students undertaking these?
Well, it's very important to get as much practical experience as you can, commensurate with devoting yourself to your studies. one of the features of our programme is that we have a barristers and a solicitors mentoring programme, pursuant to which we fix up our students. That's very inelegant, but we allocate our students who wish to be barristers or solicitors to a practicing solicitor or barrister as a mentor. So that is potentially a source of many pupillages and work experiences in law firms, and absolutely it's very important that people, with our help and our encouragement, attempt to get many pupillages or training experience in law firms.
There's probably another aspect to that question though, which is, is it wise to do a mini pupillage during term time, given that those mini pupillages are offered during term time? As a broad rule, I'd say try to get your mini pupillages fixed up during the vacation. We're now looking at this year's cohort, and a lot of them are thinking about the bar. They've managed to fix up mini pupillages for the period of June, July, and really went straight from their exams to doing that. That would seem the more sensible way forward, and I think a lot of sets of chambers are understanding of that.
Yeah. We've had a slightly related question, so we're going to go with this one. It says, what interview practice could be available for anyone going for interviews for BBTC scholarships or pupillages?
Well, Mark and I proffer career advice to our undergraduate and our GDL students. Mark is a solicitor, I'm a barrister, and both of us are very happy to meet individually with our GDL students to talk about precisely this thing, how to prepare oneself for an interview, what can be expected, anything to do with the interview process or the application process generically to be a solicitor or barrister. So we're very happy to do that individually, because that's where we can be most helpful.
And in fact, in the past, we have actually been in a position to give mock interviews to people who've got, say, training contract interviews.
Excellent. There's obviously, we're getting into the nitty gritty of the course here. There's a lot of law sounding words flying about, and here's one in a question which we've just received, and it's how much mooting can you do and when will it start? Mark, maybe if you could start by defining mooting and then having a go at answering that question.
Mooting is mock advocacy conducted in front of a fictional court of appeal or Supreme Court, and at Brookes we spend a lot of time in mooting. We've got our own moot court, which has the furniture and the crest from an old decommissioned court, which we obtained through the Ministry of Justice. We have a big internal mooting competition just for our GDL students, and then we put our students into the big national competitions. I think two of the big national competitions are the ESU Essex Court National Mooting Competition and the Inner Temple Intervarsity Mooting Competition. This year we've won both. In recent years we won a number of national competitions. Our GDL students from 3 years ago, having won the national competition, the ESU, went on to win the Commonwealth Mooting Competition in Cape Town, where they were judged by three Chief Justices from across the Commonwealth. I think Brookes mooting is probably one of our big selling points, actually, for those who are thinking about going to the bar.
Okay. And when would it start in your course?
It will start in October. It's all extracurricular, and we start off with introductory talks in the induction week. So when you first arrive, we start having mooting workshops, and that feeds into an internal knockout competition. And what we did this year was that when we took the winning and losing finalists from the internal competition, and we put them into the two national competitions. There's a knockout process which goes through, and the national competitions really kick off at the end of the first term and go through right through into the summer. So, for instance, the ESU national final, which our students won, was on the 23rd of June in the Royal Courts of Justice.
Okay, excellent. We're going to come back to topics such as mooting and things in a moment. We've had another question on a slightly different angle here. Maybe one of the students could attempt to answer this, please. It is, how feasible is it to start a career in law via the GDL in one's late 30s? So maybe slightly older than the thought of student age. If one of you wants to have a go.
That would apply to me.
Yeah. It applies to me as well.
Yes, well, I've been working for quite some time, and I undertook the GDL because I wanted to change in career. And I thought, to give me the confidence and the knowledge and academic qualification to do that, the GDL would be the best way to do that.
Okay. Obviously on a course like this there'll be students from a variety of different backgrounds. We have 3 students from a variety of different backgrounds here. Is it a good atmosphere? Is it easy to gel with the group or any things like that? Is that ever a problem, or is it okay?
No, I thought it was easy, yeah.
It's pretty fine.
Even though we're all different ages, different backgrounds, different nationalities, very quickly gelled and worked together in little groups. preparing for seminars and exams.
Excellent. A question here about more of the nitty-gritty of the course again, and what are the modules that the GDL is comprised of? Maybe a student's perspective first from your experience. Cynthia, what sort of modules do you study?
So in the first term, we start with contract law, public law, criminal, and what was the last one again?
European Union law?
EU law was in second term.
No.
No,
Second term.
public. Okay. Well, in the second term, we do EU law, continue criminal law, and tort comes on, and equity as well. And then we also have our LRP in the second term as well.
The LRP is a legal research project.
Project.
It's a 4,500 word dissertation. Students pick a subject of their choice. We allocate a supervisor, and then in the summer, the last part of the assessment process is when students hand in their LRP. And just very quickly, just so everybody knows, what Cynthia was talking about with the 7 core foundations of knowledge, which are mandated by the professional bodies who regulate GDLs nationwide. So wherever you would go to do your GDL, you would do the same core foundation subjects, and prior to that, you also have to do English legal system, which gives you a grounding in how the legal system works in this jurisdiction.
Okay. Andrew, while you're here, maybe you can talk to us about the balance between coursework and exams.
Yes, the vast majority of the assessment is conducted by examination. There are some coursework. There's a coursework that counts for towards your GDL for equity and trusts, and also for criminal law. There's a coursework element. But even in those subjects, the main bulk of how we assess you is by examination. And there's also sort of practice in what's the other one? Public law, where there's what we call formative assessment, which means you get to do it, you're given a grade, but the grade doesn't actually count towards your final classification.
But, the big coursework component is the legal research project, and I think that's where an element of choice comes in. And one of the things about the GDL is that you're doing the core compulsory subjects that the professions require, drawn from an undergraduate law course. It's clearly the choices that an undergraduate might have are not there, but the legal research project can provide an opportunity to explore a particular area which a student has an interest in, or which they might want to practice in.
Okay. What sort of topics do students do their legal research projects on?
Well, I
variety. Do you want to?
Everything. I mean, I've known people do it on commercial law, shipping law, banking law. Known people do it on human rights. I've supervised legal research projects on criminal evidence, on laws relating to privacy and media intrusion. There's a range of areas, and in fact, because we're part of a research active law department, there are often supervisors who have a particular interest in areas that students want to do the research in.
Excellent. We've had another live question in here. It's how important would it be to obtain a distinction in terms of aiming at a pupillage?
Well, obviously, the better you do in the GDL, that is going to help your chances of obtaining specifically pupillages, and also, if you wish to be a solicitor, training contracts. So the GDL is a very tough course. It requires a great deal of work, all right? But if you apply yourself, obviously, if you can get a distinction or a merit, that will definitely help you to get the pupillages, get the training contracts.
Excellent. We're going to move on now to client interviewing. If one of the students could please briefly explain what is client interviewing. Maybe Jess?
Yeah, I could do this. So client interviewing is when you mostly work in pairs and you act the part of 2 solicitors, and somebody comes basically into your office, presents you with a problem, and you have about a half an hour in which to listen to what they say, elicit more information by asking questions, and then at the end offer some advice which would hopefully take them forward in their problem, and also think about this as a real life scenario, so hopefully make them want to come and work with you as a solicitor in future.
Quite like muting, this has taken on a bit of a competitive edge in itself.
Yes.
And Jess, I understand you've been quite successful in this. Can you talk to us about that, please?
Yes, this year, so there was an internal competition, just as there was for the mooting, following a module of training on that. And I and my partner, we won that and then went forward to a regional competition where it was us and I think it was a total of 12 universities were represented there. And then we went forward to a national competition. We ended up coming third. Overall, the competitions, especially the regional and the national, they give fantastic feedback and they have very good people judging you, so you know that there are lots of skills that you're able to develop, and you can it really does feel like practicing real life skills of, which we would use in future.
Is this done as part of your course, or is it largely extracurricular?
So there was a module which we all sat in on the first induction week, which was about client interviewing. So everybody would have seen that, but then if you wanted to take it further, it was voluntary and you could just go into the competition if you wanted to.
Okay, would you, I'm guessing, would you recommend that? Is it necessary?
Absolutely, yeah, it was one of the best things that I took part in sort of as an extracurricular activity. It was fantastic and I think you really develop amazing skills that you can use in future.
Excellent. Let's move on now, Mark, to law firms. What kind of links does Oxford Brookes have with law firms?
Well, we've got very good links with law firms and chambers, mainly based in Oxford or the Thames Valley. We also got links with law firms and chambers in London. Something that has been a new development for us has been the Oxford Brookes University Law Fair, and that was attended by, last year we had some 15 law firms and sets of chambers whose practices ranged from the commercial through to criminal, and that was a very nice event, and that was something which was open to all our law students, and I think that our students made a lot of useful connections there. And it was very nice to see, I think, that the firms and the chambers wanted to come to us to meet our students.
Excellent. Andrew, for people who are thinking of applying, they need to draft up a personal statement.
Yes.
So what kind of information should be covered? What will you be looking for in those personal statements?
Well, we understand that people who are applying for the GDL have not done law before, so most probably they have no legal experience or knowledge for that matter whatsoever, and that's perfectly fine. What we're looking for essentially is a passion to become a lawyer, a commitment to the process, and a commitment to doing something to make a difference in the legal profession. That's what we're looking for.
Excellent. What kind of skills would you like new students to come with?
Well, fluency in English is absolutely essential, both written English and oral English. I would say that's the basic threshold skill. But obviously, studying law, we also need to focus on critically thinking and the ability to get to grips with, for example, a set of facts, apply law to them, analyse things, and then come up with a conclusion based on application of the law to the facts. That's another essential task.
Okay. Maybe a question to the three students, if you could answer maybe in turn. You're partway through a course, coming to the end of your course. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking of applying? What maybe could you have done or did you do to give yourself a bit of a head start?
I could say one of the things that I think is really important is to take advantage of everything that's on offer. That's something to see this year as an opportunity to just sort of throw yourself into as much as you can. If it's extracurricular things, taking advantage, if you don't understand something, just go right and ask for help on it. Take any contacts you can, or, if there are study groups, then join them. I would say just see this as a real opportunity.
Would you like to add to that?
Yeah, now that I'm done at this point, I could say that one thing I've learned for certain is there's nothing that if you decide to do, you can't do. As difficult or as tedious, let me use that word, as the GDL might seem at first, it's doable. So don't leave anything to the last minute. Please don't do it. In my undergraduate degree, I did that, but I was able to skim through because I could use your head knowledge, but not in law. In law, you need to know, it's like math. You know the formula, you apply it. So don't leave anything to the last moment, and then use every resource available, because that's one good thing about doing GDL at Brookes. You're not just a number. So you have great resources in the staff and the tutors, and they're there to help you. So use them to the end.
Also, I think what I would have done differently is to sit the practice exams. Because in some subjects they gave us the opportunity to sit the practice exam quite early on, and I felt I wasn't ready for that. I hadn't accumulated enough knowledge to be able to do it. But now, looking back on it, the feedback you get from that is so valuable. And a lot of the lecturers are very willing to receive work via email and comment on it, and I would say use that. I think I would have needed to have done more of that.
The questions coming in now are mainly talking about what happens after the GDL. We've spoken about links to industry and the number of benefits that you get both in your course and extracurricular that will help you after you leave. But the question here is, what kind of routes do students take after completing their GDL?
Well, the principal routes people take are taking one of the two professional exams, either the LPC, if people wish to become a solicitor, or the equivalent for the bar professional course, if you wish to become a barrister. That's the next step.
Okay. Any other different next steps apart from the apparent obvious ones, or is that mainly what people are aiming for, maybe what people are going for?
I mean, the very nature of the course is that it's a conversion course for people whose ambition is set on one of the two branches of the profession. It's really tailored towards that, and that determines the structure of the course, because that's what the professions require us to teach all the subjects like that, land and contract and tort and so on. So I'd say the vast majority of students come out of the GDL still aiming to do the legal practice course, which is the current method of training to be a solicitor, or the bar professional training course. Some of them will go on and do it part-time, some will do it full-time, some of them will take a year out whilst they maybe sort of try and get more relevant experience before they go and start one of these courses. But I suspect those are the main pathways for students who've come to us.
Okay, got a couple more questions here about the intricacies of the course again. First of all, does Brookes do the LPC or the BBTC? Maybe if we could break down those anagrams first.
We don't do the LPC or the BPTC. What we do have, though, is we have very good contacts with LPC and BPTC providers around the country and with the professional bodies, and so we're always available to give advice to students as to which courses might suit them most.
Excellent. Another one here, is an LLM of any benefit to a career in law?
Well, it can be. The most honest answer is it depends. Obviously, the main event, if you wish to be a lawyer, is have an undergraduate degree, or GDL if you did something other than law as an undergraduate, and then qualify by passing one of the professional exams. Some chambers, some law firms like to have students with additional academic qualifications. It is not necessary. It really depends on individual choice, and there again, that's where we as tutors and academic advisors can come in and deal with this on an individual basis, because everybody is different and we like to approach people in that vein rather than try to give generic responses. One shoe does not fit all.
Okay, we've got a question here from someone thinking of applying, and the question is simple: when do I need to apply by?
Well, as soon as possible. We would love to receive your application, but having said that, we generally hold applications open till towards the end of August. However, it's worth putting in here that if you do wish to apply for the GDL scholarship, you must have accepted an offer from us by Friday the 24th of July. So if you are interested in the scholarship, do bear that deadline in mind, please.
Okay, another question here about someone thinking of applying. They said, I have a third undergraduate degree. Am I wasting my time with a GDL?
If that person means he or she has a third class honours degree, which is how I'm interpreting that, in all honesty, we probably would not be able to admit that person to the GDL. And that's because, again, to be completely candid, which we must do, obviously, it's going to be extraordinarily difficult, if not impossible, for a person with that academic profile, however unfair this may seem, to get training contract or pupillage.
Okay, and just another question again about people thinking of applying, the intricacies of applying. It's, do I need a certificate of academic standing if I have an overseas degree and want to be a solicitor? So a question from an international applicant.
No, it's not needed if you wish to become a solicitor. But for the bar, it is necessary. If you wish to become a barrister, you must get such a certificate.
Cynthia, originally from overseas, talk to us about what it's like being an international student applying for this course.
Would you mean like the process I had to go through?
Yeah, and how straightforward it may be, or how how helps you work?
Well, it's generally straightforward. I had to do it through the CAB, that Central Admissions Board, I believe. So I had to fill out the form online and then submit a referee, and then CAB would send your details to your referee to fill out, and once that is done, they'd send it to your university, and the university considers your everything along with your personal statement. So put some thought into your personal statement. It's quite important because that's like your interview. You're not there to defend yourself, so what you put down in your personal statement is essentially what they would take into consideration with your results, of course. And then I got a response back. It was like 2 weeks tops or less. I don't remember because this was like 2 years ago when I made the application, but yeah, it was pretty rapid. There was no delays, and everything was quite straightforward. Brookes, they respond to you very quickly, so it's not like, it didn't feel like a business venture like some other institutions I've contacted at some point. So it was like every time I sent an email, I got a response, I got direction, and it's quite...
Excellent. We've spoken obviously about the distinctiveness of studying this course at Brookes, but if the students could maybe say what's the best thing about this course at Brookes or studying this course in Oxford, what makes it unique to study it here? Yes.
Well, I live in Oxford anyway, so I may not be the best person to answer the question because it was a very obvious choice for me because of obviously having family commitments here anyway. On the other hand, the reason I live here is because it's an absolutely lovely city and you can get around very easily. A lot of people cycle, people don't use their cars too much. In fact, that's a good idea, you don't use your car too much.
If I could chip in on that, because I'm an international, so I chose Oxford Brookes first of all because they had really good rankings. I checked different places and they're just in like top 50, never drop. That's one thing. And then second thing is, I've lived in London for a bit, I've lived in Mauritius, so, and then it's like Oxford is in between a really busy city and a very chilled, almost dead city. It's like just convenient for studying, so why not?
Anything to add about what Oxford's like as a place to live in as a student?
Oh, it's a fabulous place to live in. As a student, well, I just liked the course, how it was constructed with, a lot of FaceTime lectures reinforced by seminars and the personal support that you get. I need that face-to-face tuition rather than, doing it all by yourself. Oxford is a small city, but it's got all the facilities, great for going out. And we both have families, so it's a great place for children to grow up as well. So it gives you everything, really. It gives you city life. Yeah, a great place for.
Brilliant. We've received a question here, which I'm going to open at. Is, do you publish previous winning scholarship essays?
No, we haven't done that yet, but that's a good idea, and maybe we'll think about that. So thank you very much for the call.
Thank you for your question. Also, another question for the students on the panel. You're all, as I said, nearly finished in a couple of cases. So what are you off to do after you've finished your GDL? What are the plans, Cynthia?
LPC, then Masters, then training contract, in whichever order. But most likely LPC first. I'm on track for an LPC at the moment.
Excellent. Jess?
I haven't finished yet, so I've still got another year of the course.
Have you been thinking at all about what's happening after this time next year?
Yes, but at the moment I'm just going to play it by ear a bit, and I haven't got a concrete plan for after that.
Okay. Annette?
I'm thinking of taking a year out and concentrate on work and my family for 1 year, and then do the LPC.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. What sort of flexibility is there? We've spoken about the varying aspects of assessment, from coursework to exams, things like that. Some people prefer doing coursework and essays, some people prefer doing exams. So is there any sort of flexibility around the work that you can do based on what you may prefer or may struggle to do?
Well, not really, no. I mean, we to be honest, along with all other providers, we construct this. We have the 7 core foundation subjects plus the LLP, as we discussed earlier. What distinguishes us at Brookes is how we deliver the programme, and that is where applicants will find great differences in terms of approach and style. In terms of the substance of what you learn, as I said earlier, it's going to be pretty much the same wherever you go. And in terms of that, specifically in terms of coursework, examination, we decide what, in our judgment, is the best and most fair way to assess students. And just very quickly, one of the principal features about our programme that we do think is very helpful to students is that assessment is not all bundled up at the end of the academic year. Most GDL providers, indeed if not all other providers, have all the assessment at the end of the year. That's not the same. So with us, the assessment is spread so that we believe largely, or to a very great degree, minimises as much as we humanly can some of the stress that examination inevitably engenders.
Okay. We have a question here, and we have a few minutes left, so please do keep your questions coming in. Is the GDL a degree, and how does it differ from an LLB?
Well, it's a diploma. It's the functional equivalent, I stress that, it's the functional equivalent of a 3-year undergraduate LLB degree. But it is not, if you wish to be very technical, a degree. As I said, it's a graduate diploma in law, which constitutes the completion of academic training for non-law graduates.
Excellent. Next up, what are the language requirements for the course? You mentioned that you need a good grounding in English, both written and oral. Are there any other language requirements?
No. No.
There you are, there's your answer. For someone who's thinking of applying, do they need to go through an interview process, or how does the application process work in terms of we've discussed the applicant's personal statement. Is there anything else they'll need to do to apply for this course?
Generally speaking, we do not interview people. We certainly don't have formal interviews. However, sometimes, depending on an individual's profile, we may invite that person to come for a very informal interview. If it's convenient for that individual, we might ask them to come to Oxford. If it's not, we can do it by Skype or electronically, whatever works. And that really is as much for the applicant's benefit as it is for us. It gives us a chance maybe to fill in some gaps in someone's personal statement and give that person an opportunity to tell us what he or she has done. So we view it as helping people get here. So it's not a formal interview in the sense most people would think of. But we don't interview everybody in that regard, as I said. But some of you may be asked to do that.
Okay. Cynthia, we know that you came straight from an undergraduate course, but Jess and Annette, you came from a working life, from previous employment. Talk to us about the transition from going from day-to-day life in a job back to university, back to studying.
Well, I'd actually spent the previous 10 years actually out looking after my children. So there is quite, obviously, a bit of a shock of the new. But in other ways, it's just, there is quite a lot of personal, a nice friendly atmosphere. And whilst there was the routine of study to get back into, I think it was fairly well facilitated, and I felt that it was not too hard a transition.
Okay.
Well, similar, it is quite a shock. I've been working for over 16 years now, and I work in criminal law, so it was quite a jump to go into academic thinking again. You approach things from a very practical, pragmatic point of view. So to go back to that, and what you said, the skill of analysis and applying, the law to the facts, it was a little bit of a shock, I have to say. But so steep learning curve. But I really enjoyed that, and there is a lot of support. And I think it was very valuable to gain more knowledge even about the subject that I'm already working in, to enhance your skills.
So can I just add something? That actually I think it prepares you in some ways as well, because whatever you've been doing for the last however many years, you will have gained some skills. I'd gained some skills which I hadn't had when I came straight out of university. So I think actually it can also be a bonus and benefit you as well.
Cynthia, you come from studying an undergraduate degree, and so people may see this as quite a natural transition, but can you talk to us, as you're shaking your head,
No, it's not.
about the differences between studying an undergraduate degree and then studying a GDL?
Okay, my undergraduate degree was in psychology and counselling, and then I'm doing law. I took a year out, actually. I had a break in which I did different things, travelled, attended conferences around the world and stuff. But studying law is quite a different technique from studying something else. So I had to make that transition as well. So studying psychology was more of theory, just know it in your head and be able to explain it. But law, no, you have to know the principle and then you have to know how to apply it. Like I said before, it's like maths. So it was quite a transition, and it took me quite some time to get a hang of it, but I eventually did, thank God. And yeah, I'm here now.
So we've got a couple more questions. One, because we've been talking about the course and what it is like to study. The question is the course very academic?
Yes. It is, as I said, the completion of the academic stage of legal training that's required by the professional regulatory bodies. So the GDL is indeed very academic. It's the academic study of law. It is not a practical or professional course in the sense that the LPC and the BPTC are. However, that said, because the extracurricular activities of mooting and client interviewing is so important for people's CVs, we do, as we've already discussed, have initial lectures in the induction period about that. And we also do support students and have workshops for those endeavours. But it's very academic,
Okay.
and that's why it's hard work.
But with practical elements. It sounds.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I mean, different GDL providers have different approaches. I mean, with the commercial providers, my understanding is that the materials tend to be centrally written and then delivered by the various branches of the providers. Here you're being taught by people who teach other academic law courses. They'll teach the master's courses, they'll teach the undergraduate law courses, they write their own lectures, they teach the areas in which they have a strong academic interest, and that helps, we hope, bring the subject to life.
Yeah.
We have got a question here. You mentioned the induction process that
Yes.
students go through.
Yes.
Can you just talk about the induction process in a bit more detail?
Yes, the induction process, it's really essentially the first week you're here. You will be given a whole variety of lectures. First there's a welcome, in which we'll officially welcome you and smile at you to give you all sorts of useful information. You'll get enrolled onto the programme, you'll get your books, and then we'll have some introductory lectures on workshops, getting you up to speed on some of the extracurricular stuff, but also, as I said before, very importantly on introducing you to the nuts and bolts of the English legal system, because there is an initial assessment in that after you've been here a couple of weeks, which is marked on a pass-fail basis, on which students have to pass before they can get on to the substantive areas, the 7 core subjects that we've been talking about.
Okay. We have a question here. We're talking about future careers, what you go on to do after studying a GDL. It is, do I need to decide whether I want to be a solicitor or a barrister before I come? Or is that a decision that you make as you go along?
Absolutely not. I mean, as Jess just indicated, she's finished her first year of a 2-year programme, and she's still quite reasonably reserving her options, deciding what's best for her to do. So it's not necessarily at all. The only thing I would stress is, really, there's not very much point in doing the GDL unless you know you want to be some form of practising lawyer. But as to precisely what and what areas of law, you've got all the time in the world to decide that once you're here.
Yes, but I would encourage people to try to get some kind of work experience before they come on the course, to get a bit of a feel for what they think might suit them, because by the end of the first term some important decisions do have to be made. Students who want to go to the bar have to make their applications for bar scholarships, for bar professional training course scholarships, in early November. That tends to be the first Friday of November, and then through that year they within the following months they have to apply for the BPTC, for the bar professional training course, and pupillages in the GDL year or the second year of the part-time course. So there are some deadlines they have to meet. The deadlines are less pressing, perhaps with LPC students, because law firms tend to have a recruitment deadline of July, which will be either the July before people start the GDL or July at the end of the GDL.
Excellent. We just have a minute left, so I thought we'd end by asking our panel of students in turn, what do you think is the biggest benefit of studying a GDL for your own career aspirations? What do you think has been the biggest benefit of studying this course? Annette?
Enhancing my knowledge that I already had, and putting me in a position to change my career to become a practicing lawyer.
Excellent. Jess?
I think it's been a confidence boost. It's given me a lot of extra knowledge, and it's been a very enjoyable year. And hopefully, again, it will translate that into job skills,
Job prospects.
That's it.
For me, it's been like a launch pad into what I want to do with my career, and then ties in very nicely with my psychology degree as well, because I'm able to draw on those skills. So I think I'll make a great solicitor with that.
Perfect. I'm afraid that is all we have time for today. Thank you very, very much for tuning in, and to those of you who submitted questions. If you missed any part of today's recording, it will be made available on the Virtual Air website, where you can also take a tour of our Headington campus and find out a wealth of other information about the course. If you have any more questions that you haven't had a chance to ask, you can email them to law@brooks.ac.uk. You can also do the same with your admissions questions. But it's thank you very much from me, and thank you to Andrew and Mark, and to Cynthia, Jess and Annette, our students. Thank you for listening, and we hope to actually see you very soon.
In the real world, not just the virtual world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.